No, this can't be possible. You mean my boyfriend is my rapist? This is impossible. Victor, why? What have I ever done to you? I shared my pain with the same person who caused it. Victor, you made me fall in love with you, knowing fully well you raped me. She started crying uncontrollably. There was a loud noise in the compound as a group of armed robbers were moving from one apartment to another, taking every available valuables like gold, money, expensive jewelries and clothes. It was a gang of 3 men who covered their faces with a mask. The occupants of the apartment were terrified, scared and crying. The robbers entered into the last apartment, which happened to be Lucy's home. They went in and took all her valuables. As they were about leaving, one of them, named Victor, turned around, saw Lucy sitting by a corner terrified. He got there and raped her. Lucy begged him with all her life, told them to take all they wanted but please leave her alone. All her pleas fell on deaf ears as Victor made his way into her, and they all left afterwards. She couldn't see any of their faces as they were fully masked up. Lucy was a 25-year-old beautiful lady. She lived a comfortable and quiet life. She works remotely on her laptop every day, so she barely goes out, except it was very important. She had just few friends and goes out occasionally. She was in her house on that fateful day working when the robbers attacked and raped her. It was a devastating day for Lucy. She cried herself to sleep. She couldn't bring herself to believe what had just happened to her and why. It was a very difficult time for her. She immediately reported to the police and also wrote down her statement. The police started their investigation immediately, but couldn't find anything. They promised her they won't close the investigation. They will keep investigating and let her know when they find anything. Lucy had a tough time as she tried to recover from the trauma of the incident. She found it very difficult to sleep or stay alone. Her family and friends would always take turns to come around and keep her company. Slowly but gradually, she started getting better. Victor and his 2 friends, Emmanuel and Charles, had been friends since high school. They were very notorious and rough boys who disturbed the peace of the school. They were expelled on multiple times. After they graduated from secondary school, they decided not to further their education, and that was where the thought of armed robbery came from. They decided to become armed robbers, and they have been doing this for years and have had so many successful operations. This made them very wealthy. They bought different houses, expensive cars, and spent lavishly. It was during one of their operations they went to Lucy's apartment and Victor raped her. When they left the apartment after the operation, Emmanuel and Charles were very angry at Victor, asking him why he raped the lady. Raping was never part of the plan. Emmanuel said, "Victor, why did you do it? This can implicate us if care isn't taken. We don't hurt people or do anything to them. We go into their houses, pick what we want and leave," Victor said. "I know I went against our rules, but that girl was very beautiful. Didn't you guys see her? I fell in love with her immediately, so I had to do it," he said. "Oh no, Victor," Charles said. "You shouldn't have done that. But it's all good now. We can't keep throwing blames. The deed had already been done." everything went back to normal. Victor and his gang continued their robbery operations, while the police kept looking for them because there have been so much complaints from the people and other neighboring towns. Lucy was healing, and so she continued her job. Victor couldn't get Lucy out of his head. He kept thinking about her every time. He wanted to meet her and get to know more about her because he liked her. But he was going to keep his identity hidden because he knows he dare not tell Lucy what he had done or who he really was. He spoke to his friends, Emmanuel and Charles, about his feelings and how he can't get over the lady, Lucy. They were very surprised. "Oh, come on, Victor," Charles said. "Get Lucy out of your head. There are many girls out there you could have feelings for," Charles told him. "Please, Victor, you can't afford to get close to her. This might implicate us." "Yes, Charles is right," Emmanuel said. "You can't afford to fall in love with her. It is very risky." Charles spoke to them. He sounded very sincere. They have never seen Charles talked about a lady this way before, so they agreed to make it work, but with a plan, a very solid plan. They planned everything, how Victor and Lucy were going to meet, and so on. They discovered that Lucy goes to the supermarket once in a month to shop her groceries and other necessary things for the home. They told Victor, and he decided to approach her any day she goes to the supermarket. They monitored her for some weeks, and finally, the day came. They saw Lucy leaving her house and drove to the supermarket. They followed her secretly. Lucy was shopping at the supermarket. She was at the cookie section of the supermarket contemplating on whether to get the chocolate or vanilla cookie when a fine man walked up to her and said, "Go with the chocolate, it tasted better." Lucy smiled and said, "Oh, really? Thanks a lot. That really helped." "My name is Victor," the man said. "Nice to meet you." "Oh, I am Lucy. Nice to meet you too. And thank you for your help," Lucy said. They got talking. Victor was very funny and friendly. Lucy was laughing at all his jokes. She was done shopping and went ahead to pay. Victor rushed to her and offered to pay for her. When they got outside the supermarket, Victor politely asked her for her number, and she gave him, smiling. She got into her car and drove off. Victor was very happy. He went inside his car where his friends were sitting and waiting for him and told them everything, filled with excitement. They were equally happy for him, but told him to be very careful. Victor and Lucy texted a lot and called each other. They made each other laugh and went on several dates together. They talked about a lot of things. Lucy told him about her life and also how she was robbed and raped. He felt very sad hearing the pain in her voice, knowing he was behind it. When Lucy asked him the job he does, he lied to her that he and his friends are into trading bitcoins and cryptocurrency. She believed him. Lucy couldn't believe how much her life has changed since she met Victor. She, who was a loner and hardly associated with anyone, started becoming outspoken and more friendly. She goes out more. Victor was very nice to her, showered her with love and affection. He ticked all her boxes. Lucy was head over heels for him without knowing he was the man who robbed, raped, and inflicted pains on her. Victor loved her so much and wanted her to be happy. But he always felt sad each time he remembered he raped her and caused her pain. He wished he could erase that memory from her life. Sometimes, when Lucy and Victor were talking, Lucy would mention her experience with the robbers who raped her. She would say how much she hated them and wished all sorts of things on them. She would say things like, "I wish for him to be in prison and rot away." Each time she says this type of things, Victor would be restless and disturbed. He would get scared that if Lucy should know he was behind those things, she would definitely hate him. He silently prayed in his heart for Lucy not to find out. Things were going really well between them. Victor didn't stop his robbery job. He and his friends still continued robbing people of their valuables and money. As time went by, Victor started thinking about stopping that lifestyle and doing a more legal business. He wanted to stop because he was serious about Lucy and knows she would be disappointed if she found out the job he does. One day, Victor and his friends, Emmanuel and Charles, were seated in the parlor. He told them they needed to talk. He started by telling them his intentions of stopping the robbery operations. He said, "We have made a lot of money that will be enough for us to set up a very good business of our choice. I think it's time we stop taking people's valuables and start our own businesses. Look at me now. I love Lucy and I am planning to propose to her. I want to settle down with her. I don't want to continue this robbery business anymore." Emmanuel and Charles didn't like that idea. As for them, they wanted to continue it since they made a lot of money. "Victor," Emmanuel said, "why? Lucy will not find out. We've been doing this business for years and we can't stop now." Charles supported everything Emmanuel said. Victor replied, "Well, as for me, I can no longer continue. I quit." Charles said, "You cannot stop, Victor. Except we jointly agree to stop. One person cannot leave the gang. You want to leave because of a woman? If you do, we will ruin your relationship and tell her you were the man who robbed and raped her years ago." This threat shocked Victor. He was surprised. What? Victor was very scared. Victor no longer wanted to continue that job with them, and he didn't know how to tell Lucy about everything. He was very confused, so he started avoiding Emmanuel and Charles. When they have operations, he wouldn't go. He would switch off his phone. They will call his number repeatedly, but it won't go through. He slowly started ignoring and avoiding them, and they started to notice the changes. Sometimes, Lucy would mention to him that she hasn't been seeing his friends, Emmanuel and Charles, around. But Victor would brush it off, saying everything was okay. Emmanuel and Charles were very angry about the whole situation. They were also very angry at Lucy because they believed Lucy's presence in Victor's life was the reason he wanted to quit on them and ruin their relationship. So they decided to reveal the secret about Victor to Lucy. But before that, they decided to go for another robbery operation that night. And when they come back, they would tell Lucy about everything. Unfortunately for the both of them, while they were carrying out their operation, the police was quick to come around and arrested the both of them. They were taken to the police station where they were questioned and interrogated. They didn't want to go down alone, so they ratted out Victor that he was part of the gang. They tracked Victor to his house and he was arrested immediately. Still on their investigation, they traced it and found out he was the man behind Lucy's rape. The police called Lucy and told her that they have found and arrested the man who robbed and raped her. So she has to come to the police station. She was glad that finally the person who caused her pain will be punished, but she was also nervous to see the face of the person who did that to her. She was sitting in the office when Victor was dragged in. "This is the man who raped you, Mrs. Lucy." She looked back and couldn't believe her eyes. She couldn't believe who was standing before her. "No, this can't be possible. You mean my boyfriend is my rapist? This is impossible. Victor, why? What have I ever done to you? I shared my pain with the same person who caused it. Victor, you made me fall in love with you knowing fully well you raped me." She started crying uncontrollably. Victor felt very sad as he was taken back to the cell. He wept. Lucy managed to drive back home. She felt like her world was crashing down. The pain she felt was worse than when she was raped. She fell in love with a monster, someone who lied to her every day. Lucy was in so much pain. The heartbreak was too much and she felt so hot. She was confused. She didn't know what to do. She had a lot on her mind. Victor and his friends went to court for trial and they were found guilty. Emmanuel and Charles got 15 years in prison, while Charles was sentenced to 25 years in prison with hard labor. Sarah watched as the judge ruled and how Victor was dragged away. She sat there as tears poured down her face. While seated, she still felt a little sense of relief that she didn't get to marry Victor before finding out the truth. She went home with a heavy heart. She moved out of her current state and went to a different location where she started afresh. She went back to how she used to be, alone and not associating with anyone. She lived a very quiet life and found it very hard to make new friends or give attention to men who wanted to date her. She worked from home and enjoyed her own company. Each time she thought of Victor, she would shake her head in disbelief and sigh sadly. One day, Lucy decided to visit Victor in prison. Victor was surprised when he heard he had a visitor and was even more surprised when he saw it was Lucy. "Oh my God, Lucy, you came to visit me," he said. "I am very sorry. I regret my actions." Lucy made herself clear. "Victor, it's all right. I have forgiven you. That's what I came here to tell you. But please, don't ever show yourself in front of me. Let our paths not cross at all," she said with tears in her eyes. Victor agreed and was a little glad that Lucy had forgiven him. He said, "One last thing, Lucy. I just want you to know that all I said and did when we were dating, I meant everything. None of them was a lie. I never lied about my feelings." Lucy nodded and said, "Thank you." Then she walked out. Victor remained in prison but never stopped loving Lucy. He regretted he had ever done what he did. He regretted he was an armed robber. He regretted he ever raped her. And he wished he had met her in a more better way. He lived with so much regret and sadness, promising to be a better person even after leaving the prison. Thank you for watching. This is Tales by Joyful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also turn on your post notification so you'll be notified whenever we post another story. See you next time. Bye.